Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. We got games tonight. College football playoff semifinal tonight. Utah Jazz back in action. Winnable game. I know for some of you that's important. Well, for some of you it's important and you don't want them to win. And for some of you it's important because you do want them to win. But the point is they just beat Miami. They get in Miami again. Jimmy Butler's still suspended. It is, less than ideal times for the Miami Heat. Also less than ideal times for the Utah Hockey Club. They played last night, TNT, grinder of a game with Florida. They end up losing 4-1. It was a scoreless first period. Florida bullied them, shots all over the ice, maybe a couple of them cheap, could have been penalties, weren't. So, of course, in the intermission on the TNT broadcast, I meant how Utah's got to come out and send a message, but be careful, don't get penalties. Sure enough. High sticking, penalty, power play goal, bang, they're down. Like the first 2 minutes of the period. And they eventually give up a full strength goal, and they were down 2-0. They pulled one back on a power play with about 5 or 6 minutes to go and had some more chances, but ended up pulling their goalie and giving up 2 empty netters and losing 4-1. For more on what went wrong against the defending Stanley Cup champs, here's Adrian Denny to wrap things up with the best of the postgame show.
DJ and PK, the Utah Hockey Club, welcome the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers to Delta Center on Wednesday night to start a 7-game homestand. So they start the 7-game homestand with the defending Stanley Cup champions. Florida, a couple late empty netters. They win it 4-1 after Logan Cooley got Utah within one on a power play goal with 6:19 left to go in regulation. Now, Utah will hit 5 straight games against teams out of the playoff picture in the Western Conference. So if they play with the same consistency that they've played with against some of the teams they've welcomed in here to Delta Center so far this season and played neck and neck with, like Florida on Wednesday night, twice with Dallas, twice with Colorado, Minnesota, Edmonton, Vegas, Washington, Carolina, Boston, Vancouver, they should be in a pretty good spot going up against teams like San Jose, the Islanders, Montreal, the Rangers, and St. Louis. Just have to stay at that level and stay consistent. And Utah, who enters Friday night 5 points out of a playoff spot in the Western Conference, should find themselves in a really good spot heading to the final game of this homestand, January 20th against Winnipeg. So this weekend, we've got San Jose Friday, the Islanders Saturday, 7 p.m. face-offs. We're on the air at 6 o'clock with Hockey Night in Utah, utahhockeyclub.com for ticket information. And the homestand will continue next Tuesday and Thursday, the 14th and 16th, with Montreal and the Rangers before St. Louis comes to town a week from Saturday. It was another edition of the Logan Cooley Show for Utah on Wednesday night at Delta Center. As I said, he pulled Utah within a goal with 6:19 left to go in regulation. It was his 11th of the year, and it came on that red-hot Utah power play.
A rare miscue between those two. Cooley for Keller in the corner. Up top, it's Mikhail Sergachev. Cooley, side of the net. Cooley scores! Logan Cooley in the power play breaks through here in the third, and Utah has cut the lead in half. Rally towels in the air. Delta Center is alive.
Another great performance from Karel Vejmelka, Veggie, stopping at 29 of 31. Again, putting Utah in a pretty good spot to pick up a victory. After the game, we heard from the 20-year-old Logan Cooley, who scored 3 of Utah's last 4 and 4 of Utah's last 6 goals on the power play, in which they're converting at a 30% clip over the last 14 games.
Felt like you guys were kind of in it for most of the game, except at the beginning of 2 periods. Just how did you kind of assess tonight?
Yeah, I think just like you said, we were in it all night. I think we were managing the puck the right way. Obviously, they're a team that has won in the past. They don't give you much. They play the right way the whole game. It seems like there's always a guy in your face. So I think we managed the game pretty well. Obviously until the end, but obviously I think we're in it with these teams like Dallas, Florida. It just the goals are going to start to come. I just think we got to stay positive and take the positives out of it.
Have you ever scored between your legs before?
Yeah, maybe once or twice when I was younger, but I don't know. I'm just I was pretty tired, just trying to get a shot on net and just trying to get a quick play.
When taking on teams like tonight and Dallas, tough opponents, what challenges you the most as a group to get over that hurdle or to get over that hump of not winning those games?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's obviously frustrating when we're, it's a one-goal game and, you can't find the next shot. But, for us, I think we just got to continue to, obviously when there are tough teams like that, they're always in the face. I think, for us, it's just continue to simplify, get pucks to the net and make sure there's traffic. Against Florida like that, there's, like I said, not much room out there, so it's going to be a greasy one. And, I think we just need to be, bat a little more in front of their net and try to get a greasy one.
You're producing a lot more this season compared to last. How do you like the way that your game's progressed this year?
Yeah, it's good. I think you learn a little bit each year. Last year was, kind of a lot of ups and downs. This year I feel, a lot more steady. There's obviously some ups and downs still. It's a long year. You're going to go through some challenges, but, for me, I think, confidence is a big thing, and, I'm kind of having that right now.
How tough is it to play against a team like Florida that their game is based on being really, really physical?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously challenging, but, you're going to have to face a team like that if you want to win the Stanley Cup one day. So, for us, it's, how we respond, what we need to do to obviously not get frustrated when, they're always in your face. There's, hit after hit. So, for us, it's just staying disciplined, trying to do what makes us successful, and, try not to worry about what they're doing too much.
What's it like playing against Barkov and Reinhart and those big physical defensive guys?
Yeah, it's fun. I've always liked going up against the top guys in the league, and obviously they're unbelievable players, but they're good defensively too, which makes it challenging. So it's cool, and but obviously we like to come out with a win here.
Thank you.
So we gave you the nuts and bolts on the schedule and the way Utah's been playing, the goaltending they've been getting. Let's hear more on that from head coach Andre Tourney. Heard from him after the game too.
Cooley was saying how he felt like you guys were in it, for most of the night. Just how did you assess it, and then, those few lapses?
Well, a few lapses. They had one shot from the slot after two. You know what? Can we be better? Can we be much better? Not that much. We can be better in certain area offensively, but defensively, I think we're solid. It's a good team, and they're still a Cup champion. So I think defensively we did a lot of good things. I like the effort of the guys. I like the passion and all of it. Offensively, we need to be more connected. I don't know if that's what Cools talk about, but I feel we were pretty good defensively. I think offensively we did not have the same speed, the same rhythm, same puck movements coming from our breakout to the offensive zone. And give them credit, they check hard. They're number one in a lot of areas defensively, and they didn't give us time and space. So I think that's it's a little bit the same than Dallas. I like our team. Even if we didn't have time and space, we went at the net, put pucks at the net. We got rebound. We got chances. We created chances, not a pretty play all the time, but by playing the right way and grinding. And when you play against those kind of team, Dallas and them and other team, you need to generate those, because if not, the pretty play never comes. So I think we scored a good goal in the power play, but we had a lot of grind who lead to that. So there's a lot of positive. Obviously, we're one goal short.
How did you like the way the team responded physically against a team that bases their game on physicality?
You're right, absolutely right. I liked it. It's for us. You look the growth of the team. You look where we were last year in that kind of a game against them. We got push around a little bit. This year, we emotionally, physically, that was not. We didn't get pushed last year physically, but we got pushed emotionally. We got pushed mentally. We were all over the place from the emotion the physicality brought. Not this time. We stayed level. We went toe-to-toe with them in that sense, but I like where we were mentally in that emotion.
What did you notice from Sam Reinhart defensively today?
Him and Barkov together, their stick are so good, and the other thing is their puck management. They don't allow you to recover a turnover or to create a turnover or to create a second chance and a third chance and wear them down. We had maybe one or two shifts in the second where we were happy about what was going on, but it's really tough to generate mistake from those guys.
In terms of scoring, not just tonight, but over the past few weeks, it's been down a little bit from how you started December.
Yeah.
Is there a reason you see for that, or is it kind of just the ups and downs?
No, but like I said today, I can talk about them. We didn't come out clean in our breakout, but it's a team they're number one in the league on the forecheck, so it might be an unfair comment from me saying, hey, you know what, they were good on the forecheck. Well, I should have expected that. So that is one, but that killed a little bit your momentum offensively. But you look at who we played against as well. The team who kept us low, they're elite in the league. And I'm not satisfied, but I'm not unhappy about the offense we're generating. That maybe we don't score as much as, but we're generating chance. Tonight we generate a fair amount of grade A and grade B chance and opportunity. Obviously, like I said, we could have been better for sure, but all in all, I think we generate enough.
Cooley nearly scores between his legs, and then he obviously scores on the power play, with a no-look shot. How valuable is it to have somebody so young who's so gifted with the puck?
Yeah, for sure, it's great. It's when you have those young guys, and like I said this week, I was talking. We're talking about guys like Keller, like. He's a grandfather. He's 26 years old. Him and Sergei and guys like that. He's still really young. So the game like today, it's good for us. It's good. It's good. It's frustrating, obviously, but there's good in that. It's good for us to learn from it and to go toe to toe in those games, to not shy away, to not get pushed, to stay in it and to be there until the end. And obviously, we think we can beat everybody. We think we can play with everybody. So there's a level of frustration, but at the same time, we need to keep with our same mindset. We need to keep going, getting better, keep closing the gap.
McBain has talked about wanting to keep his edge but also be disciplined.
Yep.
How have you seen him grow into that, especially against a team like Florida tonight?
It's really important, and he did a good job. He showed up when it was time. He was physical. He was there for his teammate. I think he did a good job.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks,
Coach.
So big weekend coming up at Delta Center, a back-to-back Friday and Saturday starting with the San Jose Sharks. Utah last in action against San Jose on December 14th at SAP Center, and they picked up a 4-3 win. Of course, maybe the most frustrating game of the year against the Sharks was played here on October 28th. That game, Utah was up 4-1 in the final 5 minutes and took an overtime point with the Sharks winning it by a count of 5-4. So that is next up for the Utah Hockey Club. Now 17, 16, and 7 on the season.
There's Adrian Denny with the best of the postgame show. When we come back, Riley Jensen is talking football. Who does he think's going to win it all? Take a guess. He'll tell you next. Stay with us. DJ PK and Riley Jensen joins us once again. College football expert and mental performance coach. Riley, good morning.
What's happening, fellas?
Well, the Big 12 football season is over. It ended when Arizona State got beat. Were you giving PK a hard time about ASU?
Oh, no, he was right there with me. He wouldn't give me a hard time.
Oh.
Yeah, just like I always have. I know you tried to go through those archives and try to find me saying something bad. No way. No way.
Okay, it's on, fool.
I actually was rooting so hard for Arizona State, and I was when it was 24-8, it just felt like I was so disappointed. Because I really did and Arizona State ended up really showing it. I just thought they were a lot more gritty, a lot more hard-nosed than they were showing up to that point. And I don't know what happened, but from the time to the end of the game it was absolutely like exciting football. And there was part of me that just, it's weird because when I watched Arizona State when Jake the Snake, I still have this impression that they won the Rose Bowl. Like, it's so weird because he played so well, and they actually lost to Ohio State. And in my head, I was like, they need to. When I saw Jake on the sideline, I was like, they need to win this because that was an incredible team for Arizona State. They need to win this game, and it just didn't come through. And I don't know. The Scattervoo kid, Sam, they're a fun team to watch right now. And I don't always love the antics of the coach for Arizona State, but they're definitely a fun team to watch.
Hey, I've been an ASU fan for 40 years. That game was stolen from us. We were excited about being in the college playoff, but not that night. I was not.
Nice.
We won this game. Someone else stole it from us. Very disappointed.
Took you a minute there, Riley, but now you're on board.
That was not fair to our team. I was disgusted by the professionalism of the officiating.
I see what you did there. I do think, actually, it was a bad call.
12 years.
A bad no
This
call.
game was absolutely stolen from us. We were excited about being in Big 12, but tonight I am not.
Exactly.
We won this game.
Yeah, calls are calls and non-calls are non-calls. What are you going to do? They're not the first one. They won't be the last. So.
No, it's all the great teams that I've been associated with. They seem to overcome those calls.
Yeah, they almost did. Yeah, they had their chances.
And they almost did. And it was just like one of those things where you really do have to preach to the players and preach to the, to even the staff, the coaches, that like, hey man, we have to be so good that the referees' calls don't matter.
Yeah,
they don't matter.
I gotcha. You're a health performance coach, and there was something, and I've been waiting. It's been a week now to ask you this because I thought of this. I thought of you in the very moment, and we were texting back and forth, so you were on my mind to begin with. That you hear coaches, and Kyle Whittingham is big on this. You don't do anything that you don't do. Meaning this is the way we do things, and you don't change things, right? Because that sends a message that you don't want to have to the players. And you've got the field goal kicker for Texas on that last one. Sarkisian's going out and hugging him. And I'm thinking, is that really the right thing to do? Aren't you sending a message, son, this is the biggest kick of your life. You better not bleep this up. I realize that's not the literal message that he's sending, but does he go hug him and all these other kicks that they've had all through the season? Probably not. It's like, go do your job. Nobody said anything to Farron for BYU when he kicked the 44-yarder. They just asked him, what side of the field do you want on the ball on? He said, I don't care. Right? And then it was just go out there and kick the kick. And I thought Sarkisian going out there and hugging him, and why not bring out a couch and have him lay down or something? To me, it's just sending a real awful message. And I was wondering what you thought of it as a professional in that field.
So I think in the very moment, I was like, there was just something that felt like a little bit over the top about it. Like it's not that it wasn't well, but it did feel a little bit over the top. Like it was just like, arms around his neck. He's like looking at him in the face. I love you, brother, whatever he's saying, right? And then I think later on, I heard Nick Saban say something. Mm-hmm. He goes, I always tried to not make it any bigger than any other kick, and so I hardly ever talked to them. You know what I mean? Because I didn't really talk to them in a normal point.
Yeah, that's my point.
Like, okay. Well, and I think the point is really, really well taken. Look, when you make a bowl, like and this is something that I've heard Kyle say before. When you make a bowl game too big of a point, or when you make it too big of a game for a rivalry week, like then it becomes like guys lesson and they become outcome oriented. And really what you want guys to do is just be process oriented in that moment and do something different been doing, then all of a sudden you're kind of throwing things off. And looking at it as a mental performance coach and someone who deals with sports psychology, I do think it was a little bit too much. It was a little bit too much. And you have to normalize pressure. You have to normalize things as a coach. And I think that was the anti-normalization of that moment.
4 teams left. You believe in any of them more, or any of them, if you just want to rule one out, this team, no way? You want to go to Ohio State like pretty much everybody else?
It feels like it. I mean, Ohio State, they've just been nails for everything that they've been doing. I like the way Penn State played. I like the way – I mean, look, the only team that I feel like maybe is lucky to be there is Texas because of the way that it went with Arizona State. But in the beginning of that game, they were dominating. Like, offensive and defensive line was dominating that game early, and I think Arizona State showed some conditioning, showed some mental toughness and all that kind of stuff to come back. So if there was a team that I would leave behind that I just don't think has like that it factor, it would probably be Texas. If I had to pick, if you're asking me to put my house on it, I'd probably go with Ohio State. But man, there's some good things about Penn State. There's some good things about Notre Dame. I just feel like Ohio State is the team to beat in these Final Four, which I think is interesting because, we all talk about, all these different national championships. I don't know the last time we had a national champion that had 2 losses, right? And that would be interesting with them.
With the exception of that year that it was an all-SEC final with LSU in there, 2-loss teams haven't been allowed to play, either in the 14 playoff or the BCS. Right. They just haven't been allowed in. Right. And so that kind of changes my perspective on things, right? That these guys, or that this playoff actually allowed for a 2-loss team to compete for the national championship.
Utah State hires Bronco Mendenhall, and I don't think he was the first choice. Not what I've been told, but I don't know that he's necessarily the right choice, but I think he's a right choice because I think this is the type of situation where he knows how to get the job done. What was your thought on that?
Oh, I don't think there's any question that Bronco's a good hire. I think this is something that he loves to do. I think he loves to try and rebuild programs with the way that he likes to build a culture, the way that he likes to build teams. I think he looks at himself almost like an entrepreneur that's like a startup entrepreneur who like comes in, like really builds up a business and then sells it off and then moves on, right? And he is really good at it. And look, you can love Bronco, you can hate Bronco, whether you're a Utah State fan or a BYU fan, you didn't like the way he presented things. The one thing that I can tell you about Bronco is it will be very clear and it will be very concise about what it takes for you to play at Utah State, what it takes to get recruited to Utah State. Everything will be very, very clear. And that's one of the things that I like about Bronco. That's one of the things that as I've looked back from when I played all through the years at different coaches is, look, they can be a scary big personality. They can be a small personality. It doesn't matter what their personality is. If you know the rules to the game, you can win. And what I mean is rules to the game on how to get on the field. And players end up loving him because if he tells you you need to do this, this, and this to get on the field, and then you do A, B, and C that he asks you to do, you'll be on the field. And I think that when you have a coach like that, that engenders like a lot of loyalty, a lot of trust. And I don't see anything but good things coming for Utah State with this hire.
I totally agree with that entrepreneurial, build it up, sell it, move on model. I think that it does. He was at BYU a long time, but the last 2 jobs definitely have that kind of feel to it, right? But
yeah, and I think he thinks he can do that because at BYU, I feel he felt like he was restricted a little bit, and so he's like, it's going to be even easier to build it at Virginia, New Mexico, at Utah State. I can build it with a good culture. So I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I think the floor with Bronco, I understand. They're just not going to have losing seasons. He's not going to do that, And so the floor, I understand. I don't have a good feel for what is the ceiling here. How good can they be? Virginia has a ceiling on it, I think, in the ACC. I don't think there's a lot of expectations for them. And he only had 1 year at New Mexico, but I think they had a ceiling on them. I don't know, with them going to a new league, it's been a long time. I mean, he really kind of had his hands tied in that independence era at BYU too. So it's been a long time since we've seen him really be able to go for a massive season. And I think Aggie fans expect that. They've had a couple of those. They've won the conference. They've been in the conference final. They've had double-digit wins, I think, 3 times. Do you have a feel for what his ceiling is there?
Well, I think that's like a golden question. I think I think there are some things that are outside of his control that will be interesting to see as it develops, right? Like, what does the Pac-12 end up really looking like? What does the Pac-12 contract end up looking like? How much money are they going to be able to pay for NIL and for some different things? It's already a staff that's getting paid more than any staff that's been there. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but how much money does Utah State really have, and how much will these contracts come through and pay? And I think there's just a lot of gray area there that I don't know that he's necessarily concerned about that. But when you talk about like, what is the ceiling? Is there a ceiling? Right now, I definitely feel like there's a ceiling until some of those questions are answered. Like, I don't know how far you can go or how high you can go. I do expect that his teams will play hard. I do expect that they will play hard for him, and I think that they're going to have success. I don't know. I can't remember the first year of Virginia, but there just hasn't been very many losing seasons when Bronco Mendenhall's been a coach. And so he knows the formula for winning, and when it's really good, he's pretty good. He's pretty dang good when they're doing the things that he asks them to do.
What would give you a confidence that BYU, a 5-7, is the outlier, and the 10-2, maybe not all the time 10-2, but successful seasons going forward is the norm?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that was a really good season. I think the whole eligibility question with Pavia at Vanderbilt, that helps BYU for a couple more years because it looks like Retzlaff will maybe be able to dovetail off of some of that. I don't know how much eligibility he's going to get. I think one of the things that's a little bit misleading is that it's only for 2024 graduates or people whose eligibility ran out in 2024 for most of these guys. It hasn't been extended that this is just a junior college rule now that you don't have, that doesn't count against your eligibility. I think so that's a little bit nuanced, but sorry to take a long time to answer your question, but what I see right now is a willingness to pay money. I'm not sure that they're paying more money than other places, but to get, I'm just spacing his name. Keanu Tana, is it Tanavasa?
Yeah, Tanavasa.
To get him, you had to offer money. Now, do they offer more money? Do they offer the same amount of money? I don't know. But my gut feeling is that BYU is willing to pay for certain positions right now, for certain key players right now, and look, if you're getting players like Keanu Tanavasa to flip to BYU, and I know this is hard for Utah fans to hear, but he's an impactful player. He's a big time player. And whether it was the same amount and he decided that, he'd received revelation to go to BYU, or whether it was a different amount and they paid more, that bodes well for BYU. And I think they're going to be able to strategically pick up players like that if they do it in a smart way. If BYU continues to want to pay for players. And so I think this is an interesting time that we're living in, right? And as we start to see players getting paid and jumping around, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of moves BYU can make, especially if they're strategic about it, like players like Keanu Talabasa.
Well, Riley, we will leave it right there. You are the man. Thanks for coming on and talking a little football with us this morning.
I love it. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
There's Riley Jensen talking football. DJ and PK proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. When we come back, we're talking hoops with Tim LaComb. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. It's time to bring in Tim LaComb, Jazz analyst for SEG Media, former BYU assistant coach, and he was on Rick Majerus' staff at the U. Tim, good morning.
Hey, seems like it's been forever.
I think you coached at American Fork, too, didn't you?
I did. American Fork and Lone Peak, baby.
Yeah, he never includes that. I don't
include the high schools. I blow them off.
Yeah, he just,
snob.
There's a line with him.
Yeah. It's a snob.
Line of credibility, and he has to be outside of high school, I guess.
Next week, you're going to be introduced as the guy from Lone Peak and American Fork. We'll leave off all the other stuff.
And then PK will say, well, you got a problem with BYU or Utah?
See, that's exactly how it works.
I do.
So we've had a lot of theories, and maybe there's a little truth in all of them because it's rarely one thing. But if you had to put your finger on a couple things right now that could help BYU, what would it be? Because a 1-2 start, this is not the dream. This is not the way it's supposed to be happening. What's going on? A home loss. Help.
Yeah, I was feeling for those guys. Losing at home, no fun. And I think right now they are offensively, they're a little bit out of kilter. They aren't seeming to get like a lot of free good looks. And it seemed like yesterday, as the game went on, the rim just got smaller, and they struggled to make free throws. Their offensive flow was a little sped up by Texas Tech, their size and pressure. And so I would say a consistent shot maker, somebody can make a play for themselves more often off the bounce. I think that's really the two things. They play really physical. They really, in the scheme of things last night, made things hard for Texas Tech, but it was just the inability consistently to get buckets, and that really hurt them.
We were talking about this earlier, that everything is new with the new coaching staff. Normally, when a coach gets a job, like Mark Pope, he took a coach with him. When he got the job at BYU, he took multiple coaches with him. So those guys have been together. It seems like, this staff put together in April, and the team, to a decent extent, put together in April. You had a few holdovers for sure, but you're trying to mesh all that. And in this conference, as I look at it, maybe it's a little more predictable than we thought. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that from a distance, I felt was that chemistry is a huge piece of this, and cohesion. And like you said, they had guys that were here, brought in a bunch of guys on top of that, and then like the whole scheme and coach and everything else. Or I should say coaches. My goodness, I just marvel at the fact that there's looks to be like 20 coaches on the bench.
When they all wear that gray pullover thing.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean,
the handshake line went on forever. It must have taken an hour to get everybody from both teams up and down that line.
Yeah, it's insane. And I mean, I think back on our days where we had 5 coaches one manager, and I think latter end we started getting the GA. So, I mean, there were 7 of us, and it's crazy to see that. But I just think, I think, PK, you're right. It takes a little bit of time, but also, I think you go out in a situation like that and you see guys play quickly, and, you look at tape and it's competitive because everybody's in the portal. And so you go out and you do have to take a couple of educated risks on what a guy actually is. And from my experience, then you've got to get him and coach him, and then it's got to take shape. So I do think it was, it's a little bit of the situation. But I also believe over time that the coaches, who are a lot of them new to college basketball, and then the players will find some continuity. I just hope it's not too late.
How much does relying on freshmen scare you? Obviously, there's some older guys on the team. PK and I have gone up and down the roster. But I'm looking at Texas Tech, and they don't seem to be recruiting freshmen. They seem to just be one trend. They get a guy from Nevada. They get a guy from Grand Canyon. They are just some of the kids are on their third school. Is the whole get old, stay old thing, is that oversold, or is that really the way to go?
Well, I learned through experience playing with young guys is tough, and even if they're talented, because there are just so many peaks and valleys in a young player's progression. I mean, we're seeing it with the Jazz right now, and it's awesome when young players start to develop, but each person's on their own timeline. So, I wouldn't expect that in the summertime when the Cougs brought Yegor in and he is people know who this guy is, right? And so I don't think in anybody's mind they think that kid will miss 19 straight threes. And really, at times, the physicality of the game, particularly in the Big 12, it's really takes some getting used to. The one thing I am not is I don't throw a wet blanket on young guys. There's a lot of people that'll watch a guy play 2 or 3 times, and the outcome will determine what they think of that player. I have been around the game long enough to know that, Cade Cunningham in the NBA right now is doing things that everybody hoped he would do as a rookie, but it took some time for him to get acclimated. So this is where they are. I think get old, stay old's got to continue to be a huge part of being successful in college, because the transfer portal's there and you can go out. I mean, I watched the ASU game against BYU, and every guy but one, 4 of the 5 starters were seniors and transfers from different places. So that's just going to have to be something that the staff figures out. You always want high-level talent, however, and so they gobbled up some young guys. Now you just got to hope that the experience is good enough that they stay, and that's always TBD at the end of the year as well.
Yeah, I think you got to give Young time. He got there in April. What's he going to assemble an all-star team here, and they're going to just hit the ground running and go nuts in this conference? No. And then he had guys in and out in the non-conference, and they really didn't play a difficult schedule and weren't challenged to the degree they're being challenged virtually every game here. So just take a step back. If I'm him, get these guys to relax, make some changes. I'm not just saying you do all the things that you're going to keep doing and having the same results. That's pretty stupid. But I think it goes to more of the predictability. I actually didn't think that they were going to win that game. And sure enough, when it got down to the crunch time, it seemed like they didn't really know what they were doing on both ends of the court. So now we get to see what he is as a coach. And I think for the long-term health of the program, that's going to be necessary. And it was going to have to happen at some point. So it's happening now right off the bat.
Yeah, it's always an interesting phenomenon when a new coach comes in, because it's almost as though they absolutely love the press conference, and then you start putting guys on paper, and without a doubt, expectations start to crazily rise.
Right.
So let's not forget it is, in fact, his first chance at this level to be a head coach. And I do think they're doing so many great things, but 1 year does not a career make, and one game does not define a season. But there's no doubt right now they're searching offensively for something.
Yeah.
And I like the way they're competing. I like the way that they competed on the glass and guarded last night and got on the floor. I mean, you've got guys that are willing to play hard. It's just they've got to see some success. They've got to have that ball go through the hoop to get some things going.
Well, they got 5 games coming up now against teams that are currently in the bottom half of the league. So this is a chance to maybe play a little softer part of the schedule, get some W's, get some confidence, and get some wins.
Yeah, that's as a coach, you got your eye on what's in front of you, but you got that 5-game view to get an idea of kind of what's in store. So they'll take this one game at a time. That's the old adage. Try to get better in practice. But to me, everybody take a chill pill and realize that this year wasn't going to be the Final Four anyhow.
You look at the way Walker Kessler is playing. If he marries his girlfriend combined with the way he's playing, is he Mr. America?
I was wondering that. I actually thought Nio had a good one yesterday. She said Miss America's sweetheart could be a good one.
No.
Or Captain America.
No.
Okay, you're not for either of those.
I don't want anybody to be a basketball player who's a sweetheart. And
okay.
Come on, man. We're dealing with a New Jersey junkyard dog.
Was Kobe a sweetheart? Was MJ a sweetheart? Was Stockton a sweetheart? That makes me nervous.
Good point. Yeah, we'll go with Cap. No, not Cap. You said Mr. America, right?
Yeah.
I think that works.
If he's going to play like this, he's been playing well. I think he's made a significant improvement over last year. I don't think that when we get to April, Ainge can say, who you do it against.
Well, yeah, he's been doing it. Jake and I talked about this last night. He's been doing it every night, regardless of who the opponent is. And I do think he's a perfect example of what we're talking about. His first year, he hit the ground, without any understanding who he was or expectation, and all of a sudden, because he had an incredible first year, particularly in the area of rim protection and shot blocking, he's really went into year 2, and the conversation around him instantly went to what more can he do for us on offense. And this is I'm saying outside, right?
Yeah.
So, the whole off season, the buzz was Walker's, he's shooting threes and all this stuff. Well, last year he hit one of those lulls in your career, and things didn't go exactly his way. And I thought what was incredible and has been is he really looked inside, and very rarely do you find people that really kind of lean into who they are or kind of accept it. I feel like that's what he's done. His body changed. He is a ferocious rebounder. His rebounds are so, they're tough and contested. Oftentimes he's tapping that thing to himself 2 or 3 times to get it. But I think it's his, all that stuff that I talked about before, rim protection, ability to block shots, but then you add a consistent effort on the glass every night, which is you're going to be a good offensive rebound. You have to be consistent. You have to go every time. You see that from Walker, a guy who runs the floor and has, in doing so, has really opened up things in transition for the Jazz. I just think he's had an incredible year, and the numbers would speak to it too. I think his numbers this year in comparison to last year and on all the progress he made, man, people got to be excited about this kid.
He did have a little pressure put on him. On media day, we were over there, and they cycled a few people through, and we got to talk to several of them, and he was one of them. And when he sat down, started talking to him about, hey, NBA guys, the third year, if they're going to make it, the third year is a big year for guys who've struggled as a rookie or second-year player. And it clicks in for a lot of people, and you start down that road, and he's got this look in his eye like, oh, you guys too. I knew instantly whether it was the coach or the GM, Ainge, Hardy, whoever, his agent. He had heard that multiple times.
Miss America.
Miss America. Listen, big dog, this is your third year. Bring home the bacon. But it was clear those talks had happened, and it's clear he's delivering on them. And it's something to deliver when you know you're up against it, and it's go time now.
Yeah, I think he's made right. I think his character is right. And you have to be really confident in this league, but you have to be self-aware. You have to understand the situation you're in, what's necessary, what's needed, and where you need to grow. And, I said it from probably first 5 games, like the Walker we saw last year who, still was trying to do everything right. I just think he was affected too much by negative plays. I think he, if he missed a shot or missed out on or missed a free throw, or it affected his persona and whatever it was over the summer. And I do think a big part of it was when I think he committed a ton of time to the weight room and his body changed a whole bunch. I think that was something that maybe allowed him just to go, hey, I can knock people around now. But he, in my words, he's leaned into what he does great. He has definitely adopted the things that make him awesome, making the opponent have such difficult shots at the rim, contesting things all the time, his effort on the glass, both offense and defense. Last night he had 8 offensive rebounds, 10 total. He had 8 offensive rebounds last night, 10 rebounds, 21 points. I mean, if you'd have told Jazz fans that during his swoon last year, people have been so excited that he had found it. But I think he's found it and more. I really do think he's starting to take that upward step.
Tim, thanks for the time. As always, we'll talk to you again next week, and we'll hear you on the Jazz pre-half and post-game shows.
It's an honor to be with you both, and I mean that mostly for DJ and partly for PK.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
There is the former Lone Peak and American Fork High assistant coach.
There it is.
Tim LaComb. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up next, what is trending? The headlines. Stay with us.